You know who it is, man. It's your boy, Underrated Mage, and today I'll be doing a video discussing the final Guild Master. Now, when it comes to Fairy Tail, we know that the Guild Master title is basically like becoming the Hokage of Fairy Tail. You know, once you become the Guild Master, you are pretty much in control of Fairy Tail, but the thing that makes Fairy Tail Guildmaster so special is that not only have there been incredible mages that were previous guildmasters, but it also comes with the title of holding a lot of secrets from the guild, you know, Fairy Heart, and there's a lot of other secrets that you get to learn with becoming the Fairy Tail Guildmaster. So there are a lot of responsibilities with becoming a guildmaster. You know, it's not just about how strong you are or who can do this better. No, there's a lot of different things that you have to account for when you're being selected to become a guild master. Now, we know the history of the Fairy Tail Guild Masters. They have all been, well, for the most part, they've all been somewhat legendary mages. We have Mavis, who was, of course, the founder of Fairy Tail, the first guild master, and we know how important Mavis is and was to the story. Like, we seen that she was the person who brought together Pretch. You know, we got to see Yuri and even Warrid. We got to see all of them come together really because of Mavis. And the thing that made Mavis so special was it wasn't her fighting abilities or anything like that, but the reason why she was able to become the guild master was because of her knowledge and basically her war tactics. She was feared as one of the greatest war generals all across the land. Even Zeref himself, yes, he feared Mavis's war capabilities, and not to mention the fact that she had a huge connection with Zeref. I mean, I'm not gonna lie with you guys, Zeref and Mavis's love story, their story together is one of the best things in fiction, period. Just because the tragedy of losing someone who you love, Mavis getting cursed by God Ank'Saram, like there's just a lot of things that happened with Mavis. And to be honest, she was probably one of the greater first guild masters because she was able to rule. I don't want to use the word rule, but she was able to be the I guess you could say the ruler of Fairy Tail, so she did start it without having to use brute force or brute strength. That's what made Mavis stick out from the rest of the guild masters. And then obviously we know that her body ended up getting saved and stored away in the Fairy Tail Guild Hall as Fairy Heart. So we know that Mavis, she was definitely a huge part of why Fairy Tail is still there today. So I definitely do have to say that Mavis, she is definitely worthy of being the first guild master for Fairy Tail. And then we move on to the second guild master, which is Pretch, aka Hades. Now, I don't know about you guys, but Hades is still to this day one of my favorite Fairy Tail characters. Yes, Hades, he is obviously one of the founding members of Fairy Tail. We see that he was also trained by Zeref, and he also uses this magic similar to Zeref. It's not necessarily the same, but he uses dark magic and he's able to control it freely. And me personally, like I said, if you guys haven't watched Fairy Tail Zero, then what are you doing? If you haven't watched Fairy Tail Zero, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? If you haven't seen Fairy Tail Zero yet, I want you to pause this video, go read it, go watch it, because you do not know about the greatness of Hades. Yes, we got to see Hades actually work with Mavis, work with Yuri, who is Makarov's, I believe, grandfather or father. I'm pretty sure it's his father. We got to see him work with Yuri and even Warrid too. And then we obviously know that once Mavis ended up passing away and once Hades was named as the second guild master, that's when he basically ended up leaving because he wanted to go and do his own research. He wanted to figure out the more and more secrets of Fairy Tail. Now, we know that he ended up returning in the Tenro Island arc as a main villain, and then that basically ended up leading to his downfall. And not to mention, it ended up leading to one of the greatest moments in Fairy Tail, which was Hades and Laxus. Listen, as a true Fairy Tail fan, you can't tell me that you didn't enjoy seeing Laxus show up and basically tell Hades, yo, you're not going to destroy my guild. That was one of the most epic moments in mankind history. Now, we move on to the third, sixth, and the eighth guild master all in one. Yes, Makarov. Now, when we're talking about Makarov, this is a very controversial character just because a lot of people think that he should have been died off and that he should have been relinquished the title of Guildmaster. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, Makarov must be filled with infinite sensu beans because the amount of times he's been near-death experiences but still haven't died is incredible. But we also got to remember the fact that Makarov is an old man, and we already know the rule for anime. All old men in anime are they're just wild. Like, they're just wild. Name me one old man from an anime series that isn't as epic and can't do stuff that Makarov hasn't been doing. Like, when I think of the Fairy Tail Guildmaster, I definitely do believe that Makarov, he does hold up, or he does live up to the title the best out of all the other previous Guildmasters, just because, number one, he's basically been around Fairy Tail his whole life. Like, we seen that he was pretty much born into it. He was there when Pretch decided to leave Hades, Pretch, whichever one you want to call him. But we got to see that Hades himself, he chose Makarov to be the next Guildmaster. So Makarov, he definitely was and still is worthy of the title of being a Guildmaster. Hell, we even see now in the current Fairy Tail anime that he even disbanded the Fairy Tail Guild just to look out for all the other Fairy Tail Guild members. So we know that Makarov, he is definitely one of the greatest guild masters in Fairy Tail history. I have him right behind Mavis just because of the impact that he's had on the guild, and I definitely do believe that Makarov, he is one of the more underrated characters because for some reason everybody wants to see Makarov die, but let's not act like he hasn't been there holding down the title of guild master for the longest. And that's why I believe Makarov, he is definitely one of the greater guild masters when it comes to the Fairy Tail rankings. Now, when we move on to the fourth guild master, we have Makao. Now, Makao, we know that he became guild master during the little 7-year time skip after the whole battle with Agnologia, and when the Fairy Tail guild members went quote-unquote missing. That's when we know that Makao basically filled in and served the role as the Fairy Tail guild master. And when he was the leader of Fairy Tail, we saw a huge decline. Like, we seen people, they started disrespecting Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail wasn't the same guild that it used to be. Now, granted, they were missing basically half, not even half, they were missing all the most essential members of Fairy Tail. So even though Fairy Tail did fall off while Makao was in control, we have to give him props because he still kept the guild together. He still kept it running, because you got to think, Makarov, everybody, they were missing from the Fairy Tail guild. So it's not like they had really that much strong people. Like, all the main cast was gone, and the fact that Makao was able to keep the guild together and actually keep everybody, you know, happy and stable while everybody was gone for 7 years just goes to show you that Makao did a pretty good job as being a guild master. He wasn't the greatest, obviously. He's not nowhere near as strong as any of the other guild masters, but I still do have to give him props for keeping the Fairy Tail guild, holding it down while everybody was gone. Now, then we move on to the fifth guild master, Guildarts. Now, we know that Guildarts, he served his time as the guild leader for a short period of time, and me personally, I believe the main reason why Guildarts didn't want to become the guild master was because after he saw Fairy Heart. Like, Guildarts, we know what type of personality he has. He just likes to wander around, you know, fight, do his own little thing. So I'm pretty sure once Guildarts saw like how deep and how important Fairy Tail was, he was like, I don't know if I can handle this type of pressure. And we see that he relinquished the title of guild master himself once Makarov came back into play. So also, that's also another reason why I think Guildarts could be a villain. If you haven't seen my other video, make sure you check it out on why Guildarts could be the final villain. But that was a little shameless plug. But yeah, we basically know that Guildarts, he became a big guild master, and he was the fifth one. It was short-lived, but it was a dope moment seeing Guildarts as the fifth guild master. Now, when we move on to the seventh guild master, we have Ursa. Now, Ursa, definitely it was dope seeing a newer generation, or not new generation, but a younger character being a guild master, and that being Ursa. Now we saw that while she was guild master, she was responsible for basically rebuilding Fairy Tail, and while she was the guild master, we saw that she was basically responsible for leading the infiltration on the Alvarez Empire, and basically we know how that went. They ended up skunking them. If you guys saw the latest I believe it was the episode 288, that's when we got to see the Alvarez Empire go up against Ursa, and we saw that it wasn't really a good move for the guild for her to go and try to challenge them, but that's neither here or there. We saw Ursa, she got to be the 7th guild master. Even though it was short-lived, it still was a pretty dope moment. Now, when it comes to the 9th guild master, because right now Makarov, he is currently the guild master now that Fairy Tail is back, but when it comes to the 9th guild master, there are a lot of candidates. Now, number one, obviously we have to address Natsu. Now, Natsu being a guild master, obviously I can see it just because number one, he's the main character, he's Natsu, so of course he's going to always have the chance of being guild master, and he does embody what it means to be a member of Fairy Tail, like to the core. Natsu is he is a perfect representation of the guild Fairy Tail, so I can see why they will pick him as the master, but I don't think Natsu has guild master qualities to lead the guild, just because Natsu's a lot similar if you said bless you, you're a real one. But we know that Natsu, he basically does have the guild, or I don't want to say that he doesn't have the guild qualities, but he's kind of in the same boat as Gildarts, whereas he really just likes to fight and do his own little thing. So I can understand why Natsu wouldn't be selected as the guild master. Even though he is the strongest, or one of the strongest members in the guild, it's not just about strength. Now, the next person who I could see being a guild master is Mira Jane. Now, the reason why I say Mira Jane is because she has been around the Fairy Tail Guild for a very, very long time. She has always seemingly been underneath Makarov when it came to like tutoring or like recruiting new members, and not to mention the fact that she also is rivaled with Ursa when it comes to strength. So that is also a huge W for Mira Jane when it comes to deciding who could be the next guild master. And besides all of those people, there is one person who I believe that will actually become the guild master, Laxus. Now, Laxus, yes, we know that he can actually usurp the title of becoming guild master. We've seen that ever since he was a young boy, he wanted to become the guild master, and even now he still does want to become the guild master. And the thing about Laxus is we've seen his development grow from the very beginning of the series, because at first he wanted to rule the guild in a power-like manner, but after going through all the trials and hardships that he's went through, we see that Laxus's character did develop to a point where he really started caring about the guild rather than just caring about power and bettering the guild. We see that he actually has what it takes to be the qualities of a guild master. So if Laxus does become the 9th guild master, I do think that'll be dope. And not to mention the fact that he's the grandson of Makarov, so it would fall in place just perfectly. But I know that I told you guys that Laxus was my leading candidate, but here is the dark horse candidate for becoming the new guild master, Romeo. Now, I know some guys might be thinking, whoa, what are you talking about, underrated mage? But just hear me out. Romeo, he is Macow's son, who was obviously the 4th guild master, and not to mention the fact that Romeo was trained by Natsu for a little bit, so he knows how to use fire magic. And we saw while Fairy Tail was disbanded, Romeo played a big part in keeping the Fairy Tail spirits up. So if there is like a Fairy Tail time skip, like a Fairy Tail Next Generation, I wouldn't be surprised if Romeo was named out to be the 9th guild master. And me personally, I do think it makes sense just because he knows what it means to be a leader of Fairy Tail. And by the time Romeo did grow up and become a guild master, I think it will be the most fitting for him, because Natsu and the others, and even Laxus to a certain degree, they're not necessarily always around the guild. And we know Romeo, he's very involved with the guild, so I definitely do think that there is a high possibility of Romeo becoming the next and the final guild master for Fairy Tail. But overall, what do you guys think? Who do you guys think should become the next guild master for Fairy Tail? Comment what you guys think down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.